What's up? Cutternation Baseball Podcast. Excited. Like and subscribe. Do what you're supposed to do. Fly by the seat of your pants. Be good. Be a Jedi. Strike people out. Don't let people score runs or hit bombs. Whatever you want to do, but just be good at it. Today, I'm excited about this podcast. We're going to keep it short, sweet, and productive. But I want to introduce two humans to everybody right now. Today, we have Zach Armstrong and my beautiful friend, JT. JT is our new strength coach, and we wanted to get everybody in here to just get to meet him. Hear everybody's stories that come in through Cutternation, allow them to help people even further because of the things that have happened to us that we were trying to prevent that would happen to a lot of kids, especially who show up here with no guidance. So I'm excited about this process. If you need any help with any of this, pitching, hitting, strength training, we do have a remote online program. We also have a full comprehensive program here in San Diego. And we actually have people that are doing both, that are driving down once a week, signing up for a session in-house, going back and doing remote training later. So I'm excited about this one. Zach, what you got?
What's up? I'm Zach. I've known John for, I want to say, 6-7 years-ish. I was one of John's first clients when he came into San Diego. I met him when I was in high school going into my sophomore year. I was probably throwing around 70, 75-ish, and then I want to say a year and a half into working with John consistently, day in, day out, 4 or 5 times a week. I went from 68, 70 to 85, 86 real fast. It was a quick jump. A lot of people didn't believe me, but the video showed it. But I've known John forever. Now I'm here working full time. I'm a college guy too. I'm trying to get back into it. Had a couple injuries, shoulder surgery, trying to work my way back into it. Slowly but surely making my way there. But yeah, I'm glad to be here. Glad to be on the podcast, and yeah, glad to get this thing rolling.
Yeah, Zach is, I appreciate you. We've had a long tenure. He is the original viral video in San Diego way back. I believe this is version 4 of where we're at right now, right? So yeah, so the very first version at age 12 and in a small little area of Lakeside / El Cajon, California, which is way in the middle of BFE. So we've been doing this for a minute. And yeah, Zach's awesome lefty. His story is as important as anybody. There's just things that you are unaware of, and with technology and imaging, it's unfortunate that, it's just not what it should be, where you should be able to freaking go to the Jack in the Box of MRIs, walk in and get an MRI. That'd be nice for humans if we could just, hey, can you look at this thing? There's a problem. I'd like to know about it. But due to our healthcare system and the way things work with insurance, it just doesn't work that way, and that sucks. So I believe that's probably one of the biggest things that held us from his development, especially through high school with the injuries and the stuff that you had from there. So that sucks, but welcome to the top.
We're on the path to success, though, so that's the
sure,
plus.
Yeah.
We got it all taken care of, and now it's only uphill. So.
Yeah, definitely. You look healthy. You look
exactly.
fit. That's
ready
exciting.
To rock and roll.
Yeah. And now my beautiful friend JT. We also have an interesting story. Why don't you introduce yourself? Let everybody know who you are.
Hey everybody, I'm JT, Joseph Camp. Just call me JT. I'm the strength coach here now for Cutternation, and I think we ended up colliding like almost a year now. It's getting there. I think it's a little over a year now, something about last spring. But I had played college baseball in Northern California, JUCO, played there for a couple of years as a PO, and ended up moving out here to San Diego, chasing baseball in school, combination. Did a year of junior college down here and did some remote training with Driveline. Worked my way up to mid-80s and got to the point where I was just throwing in a pretty dysfunctional way and threw my way into some injuries that kind of like came up from the past as well as some that developed, and had to basically take this last summer off of throwing entirely, just because the injuries had kind of compounded and health and everything just kind of gets in the way as you play. And then I came here to Cutternation around fall, getting ready to try out at San Marcos, where I'm going to college now. And I had a complete epiphany coming here throwing, where I relearned how to throw entirely. I was able to throw without pain for the first time since early high school, early high school, sophomore year of high school. Had some injuries that came apart that just nagged me over and over for years, and I just couldn't figure it out for over and ever. And I finally learned how to throw without pain, finally started to get progress on the right track. And then they kind of started nagging me again. And I kind of just figured at the point where they started bothering me over and over and over while I was throwing that I don't want to play professionally. I'm not seeking to play at an extremely high level anymore. I've switched gears mentally as an athlete, my mindset. We all kind of reached that point where the career is not the most important thing anymore as a baseball player, and other things start to take over. And my passion is kind of wanting to go into like the realm of personal training and training athletes, and going down that strength coach route just became a bigger priority. And I've got to the point now where I'm happily retired my baseball cleats and hung them up at a very, very old age of 21.
So the main takeaway that I get there is, and it's definitely not talked about enough, is everybody in this room got hurt, all of us. And really the funny part is, and I like how parents miss this piece, is like, you're going to get hurt too. Like everybody gets hurt. It's going to be a weird thing. It's not always going to be your arm. It's going to be an ankle, a hip, a neck, a shoulder, a rib, a finger, right? There's going to be injuries that happen all the time. And I just don't think people talk enough about like having a contingency plan for that. And that's kind of like what we do here, is like trying to educate 7-year-olds how to train like a professional. And that sounds crazy out loud, but what you're missing is that's just a better strategy than the 7-year-old showing up with dad, playing catch in the parking lot, going to the field, throwing mile-high balls and ground balls with his boys and doing it till his arm falls off, but also not having a strategy and understanding of like when to stop. So those issues, I believe, are just such an underlying massive problem across America. And I would say America loosely, because it is not just America, but like America's pretty much the main problem, because this doesn't happen in Mexico. In Mexico and in Venezuela, they don't play 8 games on a weekend and compress a week's worth of tournaments and games in 2 to 3 days. They play every day, but their workload every day is understanding that their workload is every day, so they cannot go as far as they do and push their bodies to the extremes that happen. So since I'm a Florida boy, I'll start with these two guys. Zach, your travel ball experience up until this right now, and where you are is, and both of you two are very interesting places because you're a lot closer than I am. I am 37, so I'm way far away from my last high school baseball game, but you guys are close to it. From what you've seen here, and especially with the pro guys and the young guys, compared to your growth experience as a kid, what do you feel like is the biggest difference from you coming up and like what you see we're doing here?
I think it's just the fact of like when I was coming up, it was pay your $500 dues and here's your jersey or hat. You're going to play 2 tournaments a month or whatever. But now, like when I see what you're doing here, what you've developed, it's just kids who coming in, battling, developing. You know, Alex Bentley, a good buddy of ours, he always says, man, when I was 12 years old, I wish I could have had some place like this. And it's like, it's the truth. It's like the kids who come here are extremely more developed than the kids that they're playing. And, you know, I could say that and it could mean eyewash, it could mean nothing, but from what I see, like, they're just ahead of the game. Like, I see Memphis Barnes throwing nasty curveballs at 2300 spin, and I'm like, no other Little League 12-year-old at 46 feet is going to touch that or throw that. Like, it's just crazy to me. But, you know, like Bentley said, I wish I could have had some place like this to start. You know, I got it when I was about 14, 15, and like I said, like, we saw that spike in that 16 months from 70 to 88. Like, whoa, what the hell happened? But it's just, you know, consistent work day in and day out, you know, putting in the work, grinding. It really affects you, and it does a lot on your body. It does a lot on you, but, you know, the results are there. You know, you throw 85, 86, 87 miles an hour, you get the Division I, Division II emails, you get all that cool stuff, and, you know, that's what you work for. Everyone wants to play college baseball, play in the MLB, but, you know, you got to put in the work, and that's why I wish that, like, at a young age, when I was 6, 7, 8 years old, I had something like this, instead of paying my $500 to this baseball place, this baseball club, and getting 5, 6 at-bats, striking out a couple times, throwing a couple innings, and, well, it's just all, no one cares. Like, no one's there to watch you, nothing, and my parents are wasting $500-$600, and, you know, I didn't know what it was like back then at 8, 9, 10 years old. Like, yeah, I don't know what money is back then, but now, like, I look at it and I'm like, damn, like, my parents did spend a lot of money and time and effort, like, doing all those things for me, when, like, I could have been training somewhere else trying to better myself. And, you know, as I started training with you, I started to understand, like, if I do this and just put my head down and consistently work, like, the results are there. If you put in the work, the results are going to be there. But that's just my kind of 2 cents on the whole travel ball thing. I think if you train and want to get better, you will get better. And if you're sitting around thinking about it, you're not going to get better. Like, you have to do the action in order to get better if you want to be better and get to those high levels of baseball.
Yeah, it sounds like the same thing with me. Like the word development is disguised so much in travel ball, right? So like, what was the, when you were, 12, 13, 14, before you met me, what did the word development mean to you at that time?
Just kind of like developing into myself and trying to figure out what type of player I was. Like, that was kind of around the time where I was not as good as a hitter and a much better pitcher, and coaches would tell me like, oh, like maybe try going the pitching way. And I'm like, oh, I'm a 12-year-old kid. Like, I want to do both. Like, I want to be, well, Shohei Ohtani wasn't playing back then, or he was, but he wasn't in the bigs back then. But I want to be that guy. I want to be the guy who could hit a 450-foot bomb and throw a no-hitter. But I think like the player development back then was just kind of like, if you're good, you're going to play and you're going to swing and you're going to hit high in the lineup. But if you're not good, thanks for your $500 donation every month. That's just kind of how it was. But now, like, I see this and, like, you develop as a person. You develop, like, the skills you learn here. Like, yeah, you learn baseball and things like that. But, like, you have to learn how to respond to an adult. An adult tells you, like, hey, do this with your arm, dude. Hold your glove side or whatnot. Like, those are social skills that you have to develop as a person. So I think that's also like good for the human too. Like, it's not just baseball related, it's also like life related too. So I think that's a major plus of like doing some sort of development like this, like a private lesson type thing. I think it's great for the human just in general.
It's my favorite part about building a clubhouse. That's what we call it here, right? Like, we need a home that has everything that you need. So you walk in and you have the latest, coolest stuff with the best technology, the best information.
Yeah, all that cool.
You get to throw. Before, when you and I first started working, it was interesting because I hadn't really brought out the radar gun and the screen yet, right? Like that had been my idea for a long time, but I needed like one spot that I'm like, okay, I'm going to be here. And then I pulled that trigger, and I think it was year 2 working with you.
I remember you telling me, like,
you were like the first one. Yeah, I was like, I just got the new radar gun with the screen,
Yeah.
And you were like, yeah, and I was like, you're the first one going to do it. And I remember going, and you had that
the hustle out Spring Valley,
right? Yeah, we had that kit. We had the your advisor that helped you get out to the school.
I forgot his name.
He's got an interesting name.
Yeah, it'll come to me.
Anyway, I just remember him being there.
Lou Birch.
Shout out Lou Birch. I remember being there and like holding the radar gun here with you, and then like just you could see the numbers right there. It was the coolest thing. I was like, I feel like I'm in the big leagues right now.
Exactly.
I'm like, I have a radar gun.
We were so far ahead of everyone. Yeah, exactly. Our technology was so far ahead of everyone.
The haters so much. They're like, why are you showing the radar gun screen? I'm like, I don't know. It's only feedback. Like, it only, you only watch the big leaguers turn around and look at the giant jumbotron on the screen. Like, they're immediately going like that. I guarantee you, if Darvish could see his TrackMan report instantly, like just on the screen, he'd be like, all right, sick. Let's do that again. You know what I mean?
Violation every time.
For sure. Exactly. Yeah, he's like, come on, I need my data. I need my data. Maybe it comes in his pitch count, right? It's like, fastball, 27. Like, oh, geez. Yeah, that's sick. Same question to you, JT. Your experience growing up compared to what you see now. What do you feel?
I mean, to echo some of the things that Zach said, it's along the same lines of, you asked him how development was, like, as he was a kid, and, like, honestly, it wasn't even something on the mind. Like, especially me personally with my baseball journey, I didn't get into, like, real high-level training and development, like, purposeful training until way later than would have been beneficial for me. So I didn't start doing that stuff until probably, like, freshman year of college. Because at that point, through high school, it's kind of just like, I'm playing to have fun. Oh, I'm just going to go play baseball on the team, something along that lines. And then I ended up loving it. I played baseball my entire life, so I knew, right? I knew I was going to play in high school and all that. But the terms of, like, practicing outside of practice and things like that, it would be minor work, and it wasn't with any specific coaches that were actually, like, knowledgeable and could give good help and, like, knew a path and, like, could read players' skills and abilities and then coach them effectively to where you're actually able to get something beneficial out of your training other than just getting reps in of who knows what you're doing right or wrong, or you're just doing it to do it.
Yeah, totally. No, 100%. That was our connection from the beginning. Was what I say to everybody comes, I don't know you. So, like, I hated when I went to lessons and they tried changing you. And, like, that's been my phrase since I met you, which is, like, I don't know you. I'm not going to do anything. Show me who you are as an athlete. And then we can go from there. And obviously everybody has secrets that we get into that. But your epiphany was, I remember that day where it was like, trying to explain, it took me a long time to be able to explain the deficit process. And so, like, your brain can't actually feel the green positive pluses that you get in video games. Like, it just knows 0, and 0 is good. And if it hurts, that's the negative. And like when you've been feeling negative for years when you throw, you just think it's normal. And then you have people around you that have been feeling negative and they can't explain it. And they, well, that's just what happens when you throw. And then here comes
it's just normal to feel that.
Right.
It's not something you have to worry about.
and then here comes crazy old me. I just get out of the chair, walk over there, start throwing, and everybody's like, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, "Well, I saw Dominicans do crazy things and started doing what they did." And like, oh.
And people view it the wrong way too, and that like they don't see those things. Like think of it like a car. Like if you're driving a car, and the car has a check engine light on, it's trying to tell you something is wrong with the car. And it's the same idea with your body. If you're feeling negative feelings like that, right?
Yeah.
It's trying to tell you something is wrong. If you don't go get it checked out or fix it or address it or see what's happening,
Right.
really with the vehicle, your body, it's going to break.
Right.
Exactly.
Right? It's a very simple, easy way to see it, but people don't think
exactly what people do. It's exactly what people do when they drive their car, though. They drive their car for like 2 weeks, like 2 weeks with the light on, right? 2 weeks with the light on, and then they go from there.
get it sorted next weekend, and then before you know it, the car's broken on the side of the road.
And you're calling me, and your arm's still bent. You're going like this. Is this normal? No, I don't think it is. Let's see what we can do here. That's hilarious. I even on my side on development, I went to the camps twice a year. My dad would take me to a camp, and then we would play catch and long toss and do stuff. And I always remember coming back from the camps like more confused than I went there, like just confused. Even the people that I went to, and I remember seeing someone in August and then seeing someone in December, the guy would say something different. And then I'm like, well, what about this idea? I've been working on that since I saw you. And they're like, no, that's old news, right? And so, it just really feels like there's a lot of people that are claiming to be experts that have never done it. I don't want to name names, but I watched some YouTube videos recently, and you guys know that we've learned how to like filter and find out, one, if the person's talking about throwing, did they throw? How do they still throw? Did they ever throw hard? Hard is 95, by the way, if you care at home. Make sure hard starts at 95, not 90. And then, how are they able to convey those messages that it gets into? There's a lot of people that just say things that don't make sense. Stay closed.
How? What do I do?
Yeah.
What am I supposed to do to stay close?
Go. You know what I mean? Like it's such a generic term that even I've used it, but I've used it in a direction of a certain type of idea that can be explained.
It's followed by like a specific instruction on how to perform the actual action, not just here's an action to figure it out.
Yeah, I know. There's been a couple, even when I went to Driveline, you just reminded me of that, when they were like telling me, it was funny, I'll never forget being on their mound and throwing and kind of doing the same thing that I do here, where I just get up and start throwing. And I was trying to, at that point, I think I was like 92, 93 still. And I remember talking to them and I'm like, okay, I'm doing this. What do you see? And like, they just kept telling me about my hips. And I remember being like, okay, well, that's not really what I feel. I feel like this enormous long arm coming through and whipping the crap out of the ball. But what about my hips? And they just kept saying things that were just so generic. Turn, rotate, twist.
Torque faster.
Yeah, I'm trying what you're saying, but I feel like I'm just leaving my arm behind me every time.
Then everything's out of whack. And
The Driveline way of throwing is very preach like separation, upper body separation. They intentionally coach to try and create more separation, and it kind of gets you into like the stretchy, draggy is what we use here terminology type of way of throwing.
Right. Yeah.
Just the way that they coach.
There's some guys that do it well, right? But I still haven't seen somebody go long term with it without reverting to something else. And I see it with Driveline. I see it with all of the online people. Everybody's evolving. Even us here. Like nobody's set in stone for what it is. Weighted balls were such a mountain for people to die on, but yet like they don't go further and look at Cubans throwing 3-pound cannonballs and other things like that. That it's like, well, what about that?
I feel like there's so much out there right now in the space of baseball, especially like as social media continues to grow and just amplifies everybody's ability to like reach mass amounts of people, that it comes with mass amounts of like misinformation. Like we could go down that route for like ever. But people just kind of take in content as they see it and read it on the internet and then kind of don't really know what to make of it. And then these like professionals that go around and preach it and say things kind of just regurgitate what the main people that are established and are saying that we know or that are out there that do really know their stuff and can like seriously affect people, and try to regurgitate what they hear from them to sound like they know what they're talking about, and it creates a spiral effect down the chain.
Totally. Yeah. I mean, that's still people that haven't done it. That's what I see every time is when we ask kids who taught you to throw, they're always like, what?
My dad did in the backyard.
Did your dad play in the big leagues? No. Well,
There you
probably,
go.
probably didn't exactly do something
Yeah,
correct.
and that's where like the excellent part of like going into actual like the whole basis of this conversation almost is like coming into actual facilities and getting like professional help and coaching and like people that really do know what they're talking about. Like we have this whole facility here where we have people that are like specifically focused on these different tasks that we have within the game of baseball. Like we have our hitting, our strength, our pitching, like it all like full rounded people that are oriented on being like excellent at what they're supposed to do to create a well-rounded baseball player. Yeah. And that's something that some facilities are lacking that people don't even know to look for sometimes if they do want their kids to play at higher levels do it healthily and like be successful.
Right, totally. Yeah, the academies that I saw down in Mexico that hopefully one day we could take a trip to and go visit. I know, Mazatlan, Monterrey, we could for sure. That's a vlog and a half. We just got to figure that out. How do we do that? Anyway, we'll figure that out. But those places are the places that I want to, go show you guys. Like, cause I don't know how to explain it other than like, you would be blown away at the quality of the field because it's so bad. Number one. Number two, everybody's happy to be there. And then it's like full on summer. Like everything's on site too. That's the difference. Like where they have a bunch of grandmas and moms that work for the teams and they cook them meals 3 times a day. And the gym is outside and there is, batting cages and there's 4 fields and there's just a plethora of teams and players. And there's 3 games a day on each field. Like there's an 8 a.m. game, there's a 12 o'clock game, there's a 4 o'clock game. And like they don't have lights, they run until it's dark and like nobody goes anywhere. And that's what they do all day, and so I always wondered because, the athleticism argument when I was growing up was so important. And so many people told me and my dad that I shouldn't play other sports besides baseball. And no, you don't have to. You can. I played a little basketball growing up, but like, yeah, for sure. I hated it. It was a lot of running.
You were
too much running.
Yeah. You were tall enough and like that was about it.
Yeah, exactly. And I ran the point too because I was a good athlete. So I was like, it didn't make any sense at all.
Like he's big but he can move his feet, so like we put him there.
I'd always be like, and I was like, I want to score. Like then I was the assist guy. Exactly. I was like, hit the screen, bounce pass, we scored. I'm like, all right, well this is boring. I'm doing one trick the whole time. Yeah, for sure. Screen, right, score. Well, how many points you score? 2. Well, how'd you do that? I got fouled. Exactly. So, you guys are here. Both of you have your own expertise in what you do. Obviously, you're a strength guy, and you're like a hybrid all over the place trainer, mainly pitching, left-handed specialist. You know what I mean? And you have the most experience inside the system too of what it is. So, what do you feel like is your favorite part of anything that we do? Either the building, the system, the technology is obviously my favorite because I'm a nerd. But what do you feel like your favorite part of what we do?
I think this may sound like kind of cliche, but I think like just helping younger kids and helping them become better athletes and just be better. I don't know.
It's not cliche.
Yeah, I mean, it's just
it's real.
Yeah, it's real, but it's like
we'll talk about the real part because that's the difference of like what I think we do and what I always talk about, like connecting with the people and
for sure,
because there's a different thing what we're talking about with like how the arm's supposed to move, the feelings that we talk about from there, So
yeah, I think like just seeing the kids running around, having a good time, smiling, it could be from that to them like throwing and how'd you feel? How'd that one feel? Oh, felt great, no pain, nothing. Like that's a plus. That's something good, And I think just like the enjoyment of like everyone being around here having a good time, music's bumping, everyone's watching Padre games, out watching baseball, all that fun stuff.
Too much Padres?
Yeah, too much Padres. No Dodgers. But it's such a great environment. Everyone comes in here, loves it. They come back. It's great for everyone. And I just love teaching the kids and just having a good time with them.
So the vibe.
Exactly. Yeah, the vibe is always immaculate vibes.
Yeah, for sure.
He's the type of guy that just pumps up the environment.
We could paint.
Yeah. I think also like the competitiveness. This is more of like the Friday live at bats with the older guys in the summer, the college guys. Like those are like when it gets chippy, everyone starts talking smack, going back and forth. Dean comes out, does his normal act. But I think that's also a fun part of it. That's a little different because those are just guys being dudes having fun. But when it's time to buckle down and get serious. Like, it's time to buckle down and get serious and strike dudes out, hit bombs, you know, all that fun stuff. But I think the competitiveness is also a fun factor in this whole system.
You're getting me excited right now because I always love when we do live at bats. And I'll either go first or last. When I warm up, I just notice every time everybody shuts up. It's so funny. Everybody just stops talking.
They're like, it's showtime.
They just, everybody's just like, all right. Like, and I'm like, everybody was having a good time vibing. All of a sudden, Hippo gets on the mound. Everybody's just starting to peek around, see what's going on over here. I'm like,
I haven't faced them 20 times before.
Yeah, exactly. You know, it's fun.
That year is coming around too.
It is. Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Season's ending soon.
I know. I'm excited about the summer. We have a college summer team that we're going to be starting, which I have not done a team in a long time, so I'm excited about that. Still a lot to do with that. Oh my God. Still a lot to do, but excited about that. And then the in-house summer training stuff is going to be fun as well because that gets that, you know, even the youth side is my favorite part because a lot of the younger kids don't get to get chippy. You know, you don't get to get in a chippy situation at 10 to 12 to 13.
Yeah, without the parents or the umpire or somebody.
And that's what
that's not a real supportive environment. But competitive environments are a little, you know, if you played higher level baseball, you know how it gets, right? There's a little bit of grit that comes with it.
They always say in boxing camps and MMA camps that people get in fights all the time. You know, and like they're on the same team, like literally on the same team. Like I fought my teammate, but it's only because somebody went too far.
But your teammate is your competition though in all of sports.
Right, exactly.
Be better than the guy next to you.
Right. So I call myself a sparring partner. You know, my joke here is, well, if you can hit me, you can hit anybody. You know, I'm quite the annoying pitcher. So I'm, you know, I'm 30 sprints away from making a comeback. You know.
It's got to do the sprints.
30 sprints, a couple arm carries, good to
go. For sure. What about you? What's your favorite part?
I think the favorite part for me is that watching the development of players. I experienced the journey and I know how the journey is and I know all the different highs and lows that come with that, and watching people experience their own journeys is satisfying in a way.
Yeah.
That it's kind of hard to explain in that it sounds like you're kind of being a bystander, but it's more of you're actively affecting the course of the journey as you train and develop with that player or person, like across all aspects, right? So I don't know, watching as they come in, like we go through our full like onboarding process and we go through and we bring people in and we go through and the first thing we do is like get these questions going, like getting to know each other, like break this ice a little bit and like get ready to work with each other like as athletes, as people. And you kind of get through those initial bumps of like, you know, you're a little uncomfortable, you're a little, hey, what's up? But you slowly start to build that whole repertoire with that person. And it just kind of develops into like this beautiful little relationship as they kind of go and boo and they come back from games and they're like, I didn't break this game, versus sometimes they're like, today was not a good game, right? And it's just like those bumps in the road that come with it. And then you also see them progress, and it's almost always an uptrend, which is always a very nice thing too, right? It's very rare is it always just straight down, but there's also the realities.
No, for sure. I mean, there's certain points you get to a certain level of the game and the game smacks you in the face. That's the hard part to even understand. Like,
no one prepares you for it.
There's been games in college where, like, it's funny. I heard something the other day. I don't remember who was saying it, but they were just talking about like how wildly arrogant you are, like 18 to 21, especially like if you're an athlete.
Oh, for sure.
You're just like the best one in the world, and then like you run into one time where like an average team beats the shit out of you, and you're just suicidal. Yep. You're just like, oh my gosh, I'm so bad. I know. I never
like
forget.
The quiet bus ride back, and you're sitting there, and the coach is just like sitting there, just like staring.
I remember
like watching, or even worse, they're like, it's not even the ones that like light you up on the bus, but just like you just know in that undertone, they're like there, just stirring, waiting until that like post game meeting, like
100%. I remember playing a team in college and getting like 2 innings, 14 hits, like just they hit everything, and then I found out months later in summer ball that they had our coach's signs. And so, like, I thought it was me the whole time. I thought it was me, and I'm going like, what is going on? They're hitting everything, like, and they're not even like taking anything. Like everything that I threw, they were on
first pitch cutter,
that was pre-cutter. Yeah, first pitch, anything that I threw, smack. I was like, what is going on? Like, what is happening? And it's like, there's things like that you don't even know what's going on. You find out later that's like, oh yeah, your coach had a stupid sign system. Every time he touched his ear, he threw a fastball. And you're like, oh,
it's the beautiful game of baseball.
Sick. I wasn't even aware of that system. Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah. The beautiful game of baseball kind of coming full circle there, and the hindsight's always 20/20, and taking the bumps in the road is kind of like a moment, and then pushing past, and people always say you could try and flesh those moments quickly down, but
It's tough.
it's not
It's
that
very
simple.
hard to deal with it.
Especially when it's like the biggest thing in your life at that age, right? Like that is the one thing you've been working on for the whole point. So, it's not the World Series, but it is the World Series, because like every new
game
level that you get to is kind of the World Series, and the nerves that go along with that are always my favorite. I remember the most nervous I'd ever been in professional baseball was my second outing in Liga Pacifico, and I jogged in from left field in Culiacan, and they flashed the lights on me, and I got dizzy, and it looks like I'm drunk as I'm like jogging in from the outfield, because I don't know where the ground is, and it's going like flash, 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 like a strobe light in the stadium with like 70,000 people, and I'm like zigzagging to the mound, and then I get to the mound, and the mound is vibrating, and I'm like, I don't know what's happening. Yeah, what I completely forgot I was doing out here. Oh, I have a glove on. I'm a pitcher, right? Yeah. So, and of course, like the first pitch, I was ball bounced it, and then after that, I was fine. It was just back to work. But like coming in with the music and all of the anxiety that comes into it, like it's
Right.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun.
It's the moments to live for, though, right? When you're sitting there and you're like warming up in the bullpen as a pitcher, you're like sitting on the on deck circle, like getting ready to go, and like getting yourself in that mindset as a whole other ability. Like you just said, like snapping yourself back into that moment is something that like it's really hard to cue in and teach people. And there's almost these kind of like not unlearnables, but like some given things that people are instantly able to like tune back in if they have that focus or ability or athletic edge to be able to like flip that switch and get in that moment too.
Yeah, and I think that's what's so important about our system. Like, just it's a perfect segue into live at bats. It's sparring. If you get nervous in sparring, you're gonna take a poop on the mound in a real game, and especially in playoffs, it's gonna be even worse. You're gonna puke and throw up. Like that's just what's gonna happen. Right? That's how the nerves are gonna go. But like that's the whole point behind like desensitizing the game in a sparring session of live at bats. Like that's what makes you better. It's like, oh, okay, if I just do what I did 15 feet over on the other side when I was in my bullpen, and when I get over here on this side, it should be the same. And even with some of our best college guys, it's still that process to their brain doesn't like, oh, wait, I'm supposed to do the same thing.
Yeah, because the meaning behind the game comes into play, because all of a sudden stats are involved, and the future of like my career, if I don't perform, pressure starts to come down on people.
100%. Right. So, new question. Zach, what are you looking forward to in your time here with us? Like, what process? Is it the rehab you're going through in the journey of throwing? Obviously, you like being around the kids and sharing your story and training information, but is there one specific thing that you're looking forward to over the next couple of months?
I mean, that's a great question. There's a lot of things that I'm looking forward to. A lot just growing through the brand, through the name, but obviously like the rehab part of it, have all 4 of my eligibility years. I'm trying to go back to school.
It's available. It's available.
20
Hey, let's go. I'm be in there by next season.
20 years old, 20 years young, but I'm rehabbing here, doing my thing, trying to get better, trying to throw hard again. But it's a long process. Everybody who's been hurt, had a surgery, knows it sucks, but it's worth it in the end.
Yeah.
But that and just growing through the place and just building relationships and seeing where it could take me. I'm always open to doing this, that, and the other, and going in 100 different directions. But I think this will definitely help me, in the baseball world and the business world, and just helping me in general. I think I really like what you've built here, and what I can be a part of. And I'm glad to see it continue to go and go and go and keep going and taking off and going further and going different places. You get to travel, watch Dean. You get to go to ABCA. You get to go do all these cool things because of the wonderful business that you've built around it. But yeah, I'd definitely say the rehab part and just growing through the brand and just seeing where it could take me.
Sweet. Same to you.
We've had this conversation a lot, I feel like, in terms of like the end goal and like what you're really trying to do. And I've told you before like the goal is to be like Eric Cressy for me, right? It's like to be like that guy that is deemed as like you are a solid person in the field that like solidly knows what you're talking about and can genuinely help people and make profound impacts on people's career and lives. And that to me is like everything, right? Getting to grow a facility where like you have people come to you because they know that you're able to help and fix and solve and like get them to the places where they want to go.
Yeah, solutions is so important. It's one of the most underappreciated part of like what we do, where just like you said, we get a lot of parents that are like, they just want their kid to have a good time and enjoy baseball, but what they're missing from that argument is like, what's actually more fun than that? When everybody's good. That's where it's
Yeah,
really
for
fun.
sure. When you're good at it,
Yeah.
that's when it's fun.
You're good, and you're good, and you're good. And now everybody's good. Now it's a very high stakes game of if I make a mistake, we're gonna give up a run or something. So, was that who I thought it was?
That's right.
Even better. Sorry, Ryan. You guys got anything?
Thank you guys for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, share with everybody. Sign up through our website for online and in-house training at www.cutternation.net. Thank you.